Hey, what's going on, guys? So, things that make me laugh, number two, that not only are they releasing the Elemental Dragons in this set, which is of course what we were expecting, but also they are releasing their little baby companions, which means that everyone will pretty much be able to build the entire deck, not excluding the news released just a few hours ago that Blaster and Tidal would be in collector's tins. But anyway, welcome to today's video. I have basically come out of hibernation in order to report on all of this stuff. I could have made a video about every single one of the TCG exclusives and talked about them in some depth, but since there were so many of them, and since some of them didn't particularly interest me, such as the Firefist monster, for example, the Noble Knight cards, for example, as well, I decided not to make a video until now, until all of them had been revealed, and now that is certainly the case. So, we have the little Duck Fighter, who is particularly good, I believe, in the Mega Fan of these decks, since you can bring him out by tripping a token whose levels equal to 3 or more, which is pretty much one Fan of Beast token to special summon it from your hand or grave. Admittedly, it isn't a Mecha Fan of Beast monster, so it doesn't gain any of the support, but it is still a decent card. We have Evil Swarm Tachyon and Constellar Sombres, or Somber. Hopefully, they will be super rare. Common, I think, would be actually a bit silly, because they're such a crucial card for the deck. And of course, everybody likes all cards like that to be hollow, just from personal preference. We also get number 69. I know the joke is hilarious, ha 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 ha, but I'm not really going to laugh about it now. The point is that it requires 3 level 4 monsters and it's a 2600 beater, which negates effects, XYZ monsters effects that are currently on the field. So it's not a bad card at all. I've definitely seen it being used on Dueling Network. Constellar Omega, deservedly an ultra rare, which we've been waiting for a long time. It's basically a walking infestation pandemic in a monster for Constellars, which admittedly they never had in the past. Infestation Pandemic is pretty much what puts Evil Swarms a slight step above the rest of these archetypes. These more kind of control-based archetypes that play a lot more slowly. However, I still prefer Constellars. I still think they're a better deck. I just think that in terms of the meta, Evil Swarms have better matchups against the decks that are out right now, such as Mermails if they run the level 7 build, High Priestess of Prophecy, and the upcoming Elemental Dragons. So, in that regard, Evil Swarms have better matchups, but I think Constellars overall are a better deck because they can utilize Tanky, they can go into rank 5 XYZs, etc. Just my personal preference. Admittedly, they have to run Lances, they have to run Safe Zones, they have to run more protection because they don't have that pandemic to protect them. But other than that, I think the deck is more versatile, less predictable, and so on. Evil Swarms just OVL, whereas Constellars can go into rank 3 XYZs, rank 4, rank 5, and rank 6 overlaying with M7 and going to Bouncer and other cool stuff. Sonic Warrior, who believe it or not I haven't actually read yet, but I presume when it's card sent to the graveyard, face up level 2 we're going to yeah, that's pretty bad. So we're going to ignore that. This card I actually find quite interesting, and it's another reason why Prophecy players are going to be pretty happy. Spellbook of Miracles. So you target a spellcaster XYZ and you equip 2 banished spellbooks to it as material and special summon it from the graveyard. So that's pretty much Big Eye. And that is actually really, really good. Like all their stupid spellbooks, just like Spellbook Judgment Day or Spellbook of Judgment. So this is going to make Prophecy players extremely happy. It's going to make the deck a lot more competitive than it already is. And honestly, I'd be kind of worried, Elemental Dragon players, because the fact that this deck can go into a Big Eye so easily, unless you can banish your own spell cards from your graveyard somehow, and maybe Elemental Dragon players will actually find a way to do this. I don't know, start taking Spell Striker in the deck or something, I don't know. And then they'll actually have an excuse to special summon build like Big Eye, but it won't even be able to work because they'll be their spellbook spell cards. So it pretty much just works in Prophecy decks. And it gives them, not that they didn't have a good matchup against Elemental Dragons anyway, but it gives them an even better matchup because they'll be able to go into Big Eye a lot more often than the Elemental Dragon player will be, presumably every turn. So yeah, it'll be an interesting matchup. And one card that I really want to talk about, you know me and Mermails, is Mermail Abyss. It's from Baleine, I believe, from the French for whale. And some people also say a particular bone in the whale, but I'm not actually 100% sure. He looks amazing, the picture, don't get me wrong. When I saw a giant whale holding a hammer, I was like, holy shit, this guy must be amazing. But then as soon as I saw the cost, I was like, sigh. You can discard 4 other Mermail monsters to the graveyard, not water monsters, Mermail monsters. Special summon this card from your hand. When you do, target cards your opponent controls up to the number of mermail monsters in your graveyard, if possible. This card gains 500 attack. It should be this card gains 500 attack for each. That would be much better. And if it does, destroy those targets. You contribute one other face of attack position mermail monster. This card gains the following effect this turn. At the start of the damage step, if this card battles a defense position monster, destroy that monster. Let's see. Troublesome defense position monsters for the mermail player. Wind up Zen mains. You can pretty much pop it with heavy infantry anyway, and then attack over it twice with Megalo, so that's not really much of an issue. And the fact that he can't destroy it immediately, or it doesn't say send it to the graveyard, which again would be much better, means that this card is actually quite mediocre. And everyone's saying, well, it's alright to run one copy of it in your decks, but honestly, I wouldn't even do that, because I don't consider the card to be that useful at all in Mermail. I think it's just one last hurrah for Mermails. They're releasing that card just to appease the Mermail players who might want to try something new. I would have preferred an Abyss spell or trap card, or something like that, that is a bit more unique. And I feel that this is going to be the last of the Mermail support, because how many sets has it been? 3? So say goodbye to Mermails, at least in terms of getting anything new for them. Unless any support comes out in the future for water-based decks in general, I don't really expect... The only card I could think of that would be even half useful with that is Ocean Ablaze, and I don't believe it's called Ocean Ablaze anymore, it's called something else. So, basically, the water effect is that special summon from your graveyard as many water monsters as possible that were sent there this turn to activate a monster's effect, then destroy one monster you control. So, if you pitched 4 for Abyss, then at least you would be able to special summon the monsters back, and then destroy a monster you control. So that's not a big deal, because you're going to destroy an Abyss Land, more than likely, if you discarded it. And then you're going to get to special summon a monster from the deck. So it's actually a really good way to swarm the field. But the problem with Ocean Ablaze is, of course, that it is a trap. It has to be face down for a turn. Your opponent, everyone's main decking Night Beams and MSTs and all this other shit nowadays. So you probably won't be able to make use of it in such a fast-paced game, particularly against Elemental Dragons, who just, like, absolutely obliterate everything in their path. And if there's anything bigger than them, they just take it. So Abyss Gaios is really the only out you have to that deck. Getting Abyss Gaios out, or getting a Crimson Blader out, and managing to attack over one of their monsters, be aware that it has to be sent to the graveyard, is probably the best thing you can do. Other notable points worth making about this set is just the rarities in general. I actually think, for the first time in a while, I agree with every ultra rare in the set. And that's sort of just a personal comment, really. Because usually they get the ultra rares a little bit off. And the secret rares, don't even get me started about those. Like Pinpoint Guard, don't get me wrong, it's a really good card. But if it ends up being secret rare, I just don't think it'll be worth getting at all. I found the card to be extremely situational, actually, in decks that I thought it would be useful in. Drawing it late game in Constellars, for example, is really, really good. Particularly if you have another monster in your hand at the time. However, drawing it in the likes of Elemental Heroes, which you think would be more useful, isn't, because if you don't get your searcher cards early and you don't actually get heroes into your graveyard, then you're pretty much not going to be able to use Pinpoint Guard at all. So I would actually prefer to run it in a deck with a high monster count that gets monsters to the graveyard quickly. I'd even half consider it running it in Mermails, just to bring back an Abyss Lint for a free like special summon or whatever, and then the opponent can attack over it, and then you kind of get a turn to breathe, so to speak. Torrential Reborn is another card that I expect to have some kind of rarity attached to it. I've already done a video on it myself, so it's been discussed in depth. As for the secret rares, Trifortress Ops will more than likely be a secret rare. The Elemental Dragons, they're going to be ultras. Why? Because there are 6, if I count correctly, I think there are 6 ultras that have already been decided. Then again, Constellar Omega is now an ultra. So could that potentially mean that the Elemental Dragons will be supers? If that's the case, that would be absolutely amazing. Because you would have them secret rares in the tin, at least 2 of them, and then you would have the rest of them being supers. That's not to say that the super rares in the tins won't be the other 2 Elemental Dragons, which would be extremely interesting, because you'd essentially be able to buy a shitload of all the tins and get all 3 of each of the Elemental Dragons. Oh, Konami, what's wrong with you? I don't know. But, yeah, let me know what you think of the set in general. I think, unlike other sets, this set will have more money cards in it than there has been in a long time. Like, even the low-end super rares, will be worth a decent amount, at least $10 or so. Like Fire Formation Gyoko, for example. And Ragam Magic Barrion's Force, you can pretty much consider it a super rare because it's an ultra rare that won't really be useful until the upcoming sets with the kind of the stuff where you can rank up XYZs and all this sort of stuff. There are a couple of examples in this set, of course, but they're trying to be more creative with it in the sets to come, so that will be interesting to see. Regarding the ultra rares, as I said, there are only 10 slots, and currently we have 1, 2, 3. Obviously, the cover card is always ultra. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I probably miscounted there, but I don't care. So yeah, that means that the Elemental Dragons, by definition, if the rarities remain as they are, although most of these pictures are samples, cannot actually be ultra rare. And they can't be secret rare. So that means by process of elimination, they have to be super rare. How cool is that? How cool is my process of deduction? I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to leave the video there. Thank you so much for watching. As always, be sure to comment, rate, and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys later. Peace out.